If you enjoy my videos, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps my channel grow and I will make more good videos for you.
They arrived in a pale blue box, sealed with a red ribbon tied in a trembling bouquet. Always lilies. They sat on my doorstep the morning after Miranda's body was found, just like they had after Jenna and Paul and that poor teenage girl. No one could identify. I didn't open the box. I didn't need to. The scent had already crept under the door, sweet and sharp like a memory that doesn't want to stay buried. Detective Hale said there were no fingerprints, no fibers, no evidence. "This guy's a ghost," he muttered, staring at the flowers, as if they might grow teeth. But I knew better. Ghosts don't leave notes. And tucked between the petals, like always, was a card. "Only you understand the art of silence." I hadn't told anyone about the letters, not even Hal, because they weren't technically threats. They were confessions written in riddles, always signed with just an M. And I couldn't tell him why the flowers always came to me, the local crime scene photographer, not the families, not the detectives. Me, I still remember the first one. 6 months ago, I was developing film from a motel stabbing, brutal. Nothing poetic about it when the box arrived at the darkroom window. The same lilies, the same card. I thought it was a mistake until the second murder. Now, 4 bodies later, I know the killer is watching me work, studying the way I see the dead. Yesterday, during a scene at the riverbank, I noticed something no one else did. The victim's hands were carefully positioned, almost posed, fingertips touching lightly like a dancer at rest. That's when it clicked. Every body had been arranged. Every crime scene had a composition, as if someone was painting with flesh and blood. And then came the second realization. Every bouquet I'd received corresponded to a flower mentioned in my old college photo journal. A journal that had never been published, only submitted to one gallery contest in New York, one I lost. There was a knock at the door just as I was turning the pages of that dusty journal. I froze, not because of fear, but because I knew he was escalating. I opened the door. No one was there, but this time the flowers weren't alone. A photograph lay at my feet, black and white, grainy, shot through a window, of me sleeping, and on the back, "Your smile is real when you dream." I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the floor, lights off, holding the photo like it might blink. How long had he been watching me? How close had he gotten? The image was taken from inside my apartment building. Same wallpaper, same cracked molding around the window I always meant to fix. He had been inside. Detective Hale didn't take it well. "You should have told me about the notes. The flowers. All of it," he growled, pacing the edge of the crime board like a caged wolf. "This changes everything." But he didn't understand. These weren't taunts. They were personal. They were intimate. When Hale left to assign officers to watch my apartment, I stayed behind. I needed quiet. I needed to think like him. And then I noticed something new on the board, an image from the most recent scene. The riverbank, in the corner of the photo, barely visible, was a smudge on the rocks. I zoomed in. Not a smudge. A flower petal, pressed and wet. Not from the local flora. A blue hyacinth. I checked my photo journal. Page 17. Blue hyacinths. Sorrow, deep regret. The exact page he'd circled in red pen years ago when we met. Because I remembered him now. His name was Marcus Vale, a quiet, intense art student I'd known briefly at NYU. We were paired for one critique. He'd said my photography made him feel haunted in the best way. He told me about how flowers carried meanings people forgot. I'd forgotten him, until now. He'd vanished after the gallery contest, the one I lost. A professor said Marcus dropped out shortly after, no forwarding address, but he hadn't vanished. He'd been watching, waiting. That night, I went through my prints again. Not the crime scene ones, my personal ones. I found 3 duplicates photos I never developed, and yet there they were, my signature in the corner. My subjects, but altered, cropped differently, marked with red slashes on the back. Each one corresponded to a victim. That's when the electricity cut out. Darkness swallowed my apartment. No hum from the fridge. No streetlight glow through the blinds. Just the scent of lilies, then a voice, soft, male, familiar from the hall. Your lens doesn't lie, but it only sees what I want you to. I grabbed my camera and crept to the DOORA shadow passed by the peephole, a whisper of movement, and taped to the door another card. The next one's tomorrow. I want you to capture her like you captured me, or she dies ugly. I gave the card to Hale, but I didn't tell him everything. Not about Marcus, not yet. The line between evidence and obsession had blurred, and I wasn't sure where I stood. Anymore, I only knew this. If I didn't play along, someone would die. And if I did, someone still might. The next morning, the flowers came again. This time, white camellias, folded like secrets, flawless and cold. Their meaning: admiration, perfection, death by pressure. The note read, "She sings before dawn. Balcony, room 7. You'll know her by the way she says goodbye." I found the building, Isilia Faded Motel near the highway, the same one I'd shot my first. Crime scene at room 7 faced a scrapyard. I waited outside with my camera, hands sweating, trying not to blink at 4:38 a.m. The door opened. A woman stepped out onto the balcony, young, pale, wearing a red coat too thin for the cold. She didn't see me. She just lit a cigarette and whispered something into the wind-soft musical like a farewell. Then a figure emerged behind her. He didn't rush, didn't grab. He spoke. I couldn't hear the words, but her posture changed. She turned toward him, willingly. That's when I took the shot. My shutter clicked 3 times before the woman vanished into the room. I ran. By the time Hale and his squad stormed room 7, it was empty. No body, no blood. Just a single photo. Left on the bed my photo of the woman. Already printed, cropped, signed in red. M. Hale looked at me like I was infected. "You knew her?" he asked. I shook my head, but something inside me shifted, because I did recognize her. From a dream, a recurring dream I used to have years ago. A woman in a red coat, standing on a balcony, whispering goodbye before the light took her. How the hell did he make her real? I whispered later that night. My phone buzzed with a restricted number. I let it go to voicemail. His voice was velvet, clear. "You're getting better. She smiled for you, didn't she? Just like I used to smile when you focused on me. I remember the way your hand shook that night you took my portrait. You told me the camera sees the soul. So tell me, darling, what does mine look like now?" Then silence, until another message, seconds later. A child's voice, a whisper, "Please help me." He says, "I'm next." And in the background, the sound of humming. A lullaby I hadn't heard since my mother died. I played the voicemail a dozen times, slowed it down, amplified the background. The child's voice was faint, scared, real, but the lullaby, that was impossible. My mother used to hum it to me when I had nightmares. No one else knew it, not even Hale. I called him anyway. He has a kid. He's escalating. You sure? It's real, Hale asked. Not staged. He's a performance artist with a god complex. He might have recorded it months ago. I don't think so, I said. He knows things, personal things. This is psychological warfare, and I'm the battlefield. That day, another box arrived. No flowers this time, just soil. Black, wet, and packed tight. At the bottom, a baby tooth wrapped in white thread. And a card, innocence is a myth. But fear is always honest. I couldn't breathe. I recognized the tooth, not from sight, but from memory. I had a photo, a self-portrait from when I was 10, smiling wide, holding a tooth I'd just lost. That photo was in a locked album under my bed. Had he been watching that long? I showed Hale everything. He posted to officers outside my door, installed a tracker on my phone, and begged me to leave town. But if I ran, someone else would die. Maybe a child. Maybe someone I loved. So I went back to the motel. Alone, room 7 was still sealed off. But I noticed something the others missed. A hidden trapdoor beneath the bed frame. I pried it open and descended into a crawl space thick with mildew and secrets. Below, the air shifted, cold, electric. Dozens of Polaroids hung from string, clipped like clothes on a line. All of me, sleeping, laughing, crying, developing photos. And in one me as a child, same angle as the old photo. Only I'd never seen this one before. In the background, a man's shadow, tall, watching. He'd known me longer than I'd known myself. And then, behind the last row of photos, I found a locked door, new, heavy, not motel standard, and scratched into the wood, a single name, Ava, the child. I pounded on the door, nothing, but on the ground, slid through a slit another card, this one in crayon. I don't want to die ugly. Please take my picture. He says it's the only way I'll stay beautiful. Then a sound, breathing, right behind me. I turned, no one, just a mirror, full length, old, cracked, and on the glass. Written in condensation though, the air was dry. 3 chilling words. Smile for me. I ran. I didn't even shut the trap door behind me. I burst from room 7 into the night air, lungs clawing for breath, the word Ava pounding like a war drum in my skull. Hale's team swept in minutes later, but by then the crawl space was empty. No door, no Polaroids, no mirror, gone, like it had never been there. Except for one thing. Pinned to the wall behind the bed was my camera, not the one I'd brought with me, my old one, the one I lost during a student exhibit 5 years ago. It still had film inside. Hale handed it to me with a look like he was watching someone unravel. Start talking, he said. So I did. About Marcus, about the photo journal, the gallery, the portrait I took of him the night before he disappeared. I even admitted that I used to have dreams of a man whispering through the lensin till they stopped the day I woke up with my fingers wrapped around my own throat. Hale listened. Then he did something I didn't expect. He pulled a file from his coat. A cold case. Her name was Ava Mathis. 6 years old. Vanished during an art show in Brooklyn. Her mother said she'd been speaking to a man who didn't cast a shadow. I stared at the crime scene photo. The mother's name, Lillian Mathis. I'd photographed her corpse 2 weeks ago, a suicide at the docks. Wait, what? Just happened, I murmured. Marcus killed the mother, and now he had the daughter. But how? No one made that connection before, unless someone wanted it buried. I developed the old film that night. Inside were 12 photos, the first 10, murders, crime scenes, all from before they happened. Victims caught in candid moments smiling, yawning, lost in thought. The 11th photo was me, taken through my bedroom mirror. I wasn't looking at the camera. I was looking at someone behind me. The 12th was Ava, standing in the motel crawlspace, holding a daisy, eyes wide, wide, like someone told her how. I turned the photo over. You always said the dead speak through film. So I let them. I locked my door, checked every window, every vent, every shadow. And still I felt watched. At 2:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. A video, grainy, silent. It showed me asleep again. But this time, a figure leaned over my bed, slowly, gently. He brushed hair from my face and whispered, audibly, despite the mute symbol on the screen, "Ava wants to meet her sister." Sister, the words sank into me like ice water. I watched the video again, lips pressed tight, willing it to change, but it didn't. His voice, "Ava wants to meet her sister," was unmistakable, which meant one of two impossible things. Either he was lying, or my mother had kept the kind of secret that gets people killed. I tore through her old things boxes, photo albums, even the crumbling journal she'd kept hidden in the attic. That's where I found it. A hospital bracelet. My mother's name, my birthday, and next to it, a second, smaller bracelet, baby girl Mathis. I don't know how long I sat there, staring, remembering little things, my mum crying when she thought I was asleep, the way she always turned off the news when abductions came on, how she whispered not again once when I scraped my knee. Ava was real. She was my half-sister, and Marcus had her. I went to Hale at sunrise. He didn't even blink. "You're off the case," he said. "You're compromised, and frankly, you're scaring me." But it was too late for distance. Marcus had pulled me into his narrative, and if I didn't play my role, the story would end in blood. That's when I got the text. No number, just an image. It was Ava live, dressed in white, sitting on the edge of an empty stage, surrounded by dozens of cameras. Behind her, a painted backdrop, a field of lilies, and on the wall, in red, "Final portrait, tonight." Below the image, GPS coordinates, an abandoned theater on 43rd Street. I didn't tell Hal. I went alone, inside. Everything smelled of dust and regret. The seats were rotted, the rafters broken, but the stage was pristine, set up like an art exhibit, cameras on tripods, lights arranged perfectly. Ava sat in the center, smiling. Marcus emerged from the wings like a dream wearing skin. Older now, hair longer, eyes sharp with joy and something deeper madness. Yes, but also love. "Thank you for coming," he said. "It wouldn't be complete without you." I stepped forward, slowly, heart pounding. "Let her go. I'm giving her what you never had," he said. "A perfect ending. A frame. A meaning. She's not your canvas." He tilted his head. Neither were the others. But they became art when you saw them. Suddenly, Ava spoke. Soft, robotic. "Smile for me, sister. and in her hands, my camera, already recording. That's when I realized she wasn't a hostage. She was the apprentice. I froze, breath caught in my throat like it didn't belong there anymore. Ava held the camera steady, perfectly framed, like she'd been taught or programmed. The lights around her flicked on one by one, bright, hot, surgical. The air buzzed with electricity, and behind it all, Marcus watched me like a proud parent unveiling a masterpiece. "She's gifted," he whispered, "better than I ever was. You see it, don't you? She's what you could have been if you hadn't abandoned your own vision." "She's a child," I snapped. "Not a tool, no," he said softly. "She's your mirror." My mind flooded with images, Eva's photos, always perfectly composed, her eerie calm, the way she smiled on cue, like she understood death, the way a child shouldn't. And then it hit me, the lullaby, the dreams, the photos that showed crimes before they happened. This wasn't just manipulation, it was legacy. Marcus stepped aside and gestured toward an empty frame hanging at the back of the stage. "I've saved this one for you. The final portrait, a family complete." Ava raised the camera. Click. I moved fast, lunged at Marcus. The two of us crashed into a rig of lights, sending glass and steel to the floor. Ava screamed, but not in fear. It was rehearsed, a cue. The moment I turned, she was gone, running backstage with the camera clutched like a prize. Marcus laughed, blood running from a gash on his temple. "You can't stop it now," he gasped. "She wants to continue." I reached for my phone, already recording. "Then let the world see what you've made." But Marcus had one more surprise. "You think she's the end," he whispered. "She's just the first. There are others. I taught them all. You think this was about killing. This was about preservation." Police sirens wailed in the distance, finally catching up. Marcus looked me in the eyes. "You framed every scene, every murder. You gave it structure. You made it beautiful." "I made it evidence," I said. He smiled, and then he pulled something from his coat, not a weapon, a photo of me, taken tonight, standing exactly where I was now, staring back at the lens. Click. The lights burst above us. Everything went black. When I came to, the theater was on fire. Marcus was gone, and Ava vanished without a trace. All they found in the wreckage was a small blue box, perfectly intact. Inside lilies, of course. And one final note, printed in a child's handwriting. "Thank you for teaching me how to see. I'll make you proud, big sister. A."